everyone. I'm Kathleen, and today Larry and I are here with David Klionsky. Hi, David.
Hello, Kathleen. Hello, Larry.
How's it going?
It's a terrible time for many people, but I'm almost ashamed to say that my life is at a great point right now. And
Nice.
I do a little bit of something I recently did. I started driving for Lyft, and I'm retired from my job as a teacher. I taught for 20 years, but
Wow.
I'm seeing a lot of people who are just getting by and depending on minimum wage jobs if they have a job at all, and they don't have a car, so they're
Right.
depending on car services to get around. So I'm counting my blessings.
That's great.
I'm very happy with where I am in my life right now. And many years, there are many years where I wouldn't say that. So
I'm very fortunate that I work at a university and I provide distance education. The audience has heard this joke. Thank God I decided not to become a professional actor. Work at distance education.
Well, I was in theater, and so that's not good. But I am teaching on Zoom, so there you go. For now, that'll have to be the best we do.
yeah.
But we are glad to see you, though. And David, I always try to think about like when I met the person we're going to interview. And I just remember always seeing you on stage in various shows. That's how I knew you, or at auditions. But I think the first time I really was introduced to you was at Larry's wedding.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, where we actually had conversations, not like what role you going for, and like
I know that's one regret. I've
My wedding?
been fortunate to be in a lot. No, not that I was at Larry's wedding. I never got to do a young audience show at RLT, and I'm sure I will. It's one of those things I kept saying, I'm going to audition for Charlotte's Web or for Really Rosie, which is like one of my probably my favorite musical ever. And I was the guy, singing along to all the lyrics. I always expected to be working with you at RLT, and haven't had the pleasure yet, but
well, January 2022, we have auditions for a show I'm directing in March of 2022.
Oh,
So put it on your calendar. You don't have yet. So tell us about your process. Like, when did you first get the acting bug?
I was a pretty quiet kid growing up in upstate New York. And, a lot of people say that. A lot of actors say, oh, I was shy. The example would be, I grew up in a Jewish traditional household. Of course, I had a bar mitzvah at age 13, but I'm the only, and I studied for my bar mitzvah over several months, and I did a portion of the Torah and a portion of the prayers and the Haftorah, which is the supplement to the Torah. I did the whole schmear in Jewish talk.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did not do is I did not make a bar mitzvah speech.
Oh.
I didn't step and say, I would like to thank the rabbi for teaching me, and thank my parents for bringing me up, and thank my grandparents and all the family that came. If I had said that, I'm sure most people would. I didn't even say that. I think because I was overthinking and I was terrified that I would say the wrong thing and people would. So that is there. But probably before age 13, I did some plays in school. My earliest memory of really thinking I had something that people liked, I went to a Jewish day school, as my, main school. And there were very small class. I think we had 4 boys and 2 girls in our 6th grade class. It was very small. And we did a play, just not even on stage, but in the class. We did some play that had a Western theme, like, bad guys and good guys and a sheriff and a damsel in distress. There weren't enough women, so they had me playing both the sheriff and a damsel in distress. And oh boy, I wish I had, I might have it. Hang on.
No one's ever left our interview. What do we do?
So that's me, probably 10 or 11. And well, that's me. But I was playing a non-drag part in that show as well. So that's my earliest I don't know the name of the play. I don't know if it was any good, but I loved, and my mom made, not the picture I showed you. There is a picture somewhere where she cut out, this is before computers.
Right.
She cut and pasted a picture of me playing the male part as well as playing the belle, the damsel in distress, and put them in the same picture. So it looked like, how is that both David,
That's so funny.
And I was proud of that accomplishment. And I've had several notable drag roles since, and I love that. I'm not a very technically skilled drag performer, and I'm not a very pretty girl, but it's a real joy to be able to put on makeup and a dress and channel my inner self as a woman.
Well,
I don't know who that voice is, but
That's great.
John Lawson always said that as soon as you put a dress and a bra on a man, they start playing with their boobs,
Very true.
So I want to show you, I met David 20 years ago, and this is the proof.
oh,
Oh my God.
look at those adorable young
Look at you guys.
Look at all that
studs.
hair.
What was that from?
A liberal education. It's
By
a play
Scott Ross, an original play dealing with the impact of AIDS and the politics of AIDS.
Wow.
It's a great show.
Oh my gosh, you made my day.
and we
That
haven't
was-
even aged, barely.
That is so funny.
So
Wow.
David, after high school, what is your first legitimate show, would you say? I know you went to acting school, but when's the first show you said that audience came and paid to see you on stage?
Well, okay. I'm gonna disregard the part of before high school, because the first professional gig as an actor was playing in the ensemble of Alice in Wonderland, and it's probably the adaptation that's been done for years and years. I think it's Eva La Gallienne. It's a famous adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. I think it was filmed with W.C. Fields and Cary Grant and a lot of Hollywood celebrities. With
Wow.
W.C. Fields' Humpty Dumpty, maybe.
Oh.
But anyway, that script has been produced on stage, and we did basically a version of that. And I was in high school, but it was not with a high school drama group. It was at a theater group that was based at the Jewish Community Center. And it was directed and produced by a couple of college theater students from the local university. So they, decided to be enterprising and came and held auditions for this Alice in Wonderland play. I was the Cheshire Cat, still somewhere. My mom probably still has the smile for the Cheshire Cat. I was the caterpillar and various other denizens of Wonderland. I remember doing Jabberwocky, and this is not in 1977, I'm going to say.
Wow.
I remember we did Jabberwocky as 'twas Billy and the Slithy Toad, Dick Guy and Gimble in the wave, oh, Mimsy. So this was one of the first rap songs, kids. I'm a rapper. What up with that? No.
From way back. Wow.
I remember that. I remember a couple other things about it, but here's the deal. I have some friends who were in the show with me. They're in theater now too. They dispute this, but what I remember is being asked when I was cast, to sign a contract, and the contract said David Klionsky agrees to do this show, and upon completion of the show, he will be paid the sum of $100. And some of our moms and dads said, "Oh, why are you making these kids sign this contract? Just give them the money, and why make it legal? It's ridiculous." But it taught us discipline. I understand that.
Right.
But my memory, and I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on this, when the show was done, the college students left town and we never got
What?
paid. So welcome to the world of theater, young man. So,
Wow.
but hey, the audiences loved it. It was really a fun show. We had a good time, and I don't think we made any kids cry.
That's good.
Which is always good.
That's always good.
Maybe Bill Sykes' line should change to like, "I cast you, didn't I?
Right.
I married you, didn't I?"
That's right. Did you have a mentor or ever in your career?
Well, there was a beloved teacher who encouraged me. I don't know if I'd call her. Now, I grew up in Binghamton, New York. And if you're a TV trivia buff, you might know there's a famous figure in early television that grew up in Binghamton, New York. Larry?
I don't know why.
Kathleen?
I'm from New York, but no.
Okay. Rod Serling was actually born in Ithaca.
Oh.
No, he was born in Binghamton, spent his later years in Ithaca.
Oh my.
He was in my uncle's Boy Scout troop. And my
Did not know
dad
that.
knew him as well. So Helen Foley is the name of my high school drama teacher. When I went to high school, she had been there probably 30 years. She was the same teacher that taught taught Rod Serling and my dad and my uncle, and most of the kids in Binghamton were fortunate enough for 35 years to have this wonderful teacher, Helen Foley. So she inspired kind of a shy kid to come out of his shell and to get up on stage and do some shows.
Unbelievable. Wow.
More trivia. There is a character in the original Twilight Zone series, and I think it's Shadow of a Child. There's an episode where the lead character is named Helen Foley, a tribute to this teacher. And the Twilight Zone movie, there's also Kathleen Quinlan plays a character named Helen Foley.
Nice.
So Helen was a great teacher. She didn't stand for any monkey business, but she inspired me to do some shows and then to think about continuing into college, which I did.
Did she or anybody else ever give you really great advice that you remember to this day?
Know your lines, and there's no gem that sticks out. But she didn't suffer fools gladly.
Mhm.
And when she trusted you to a part, she expected you to learn your lines and show up and be on time at rehearsal. And obviously, those are things that are to take to heart, that every actor needs, whether you're good or bad or indifferent. You have to know your lines and you have to show up to rehearsals on time.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite theater or film actress?
I love, oh Lord, Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
I'll see anything with Paul Giamatti in it because he can tap into vulnerability. He can play weak characters. In particular, I love Sideways. American Splendor is a little scene movie about the creative process. He plays a comic book artist who can't draw. And it's just an inspiring movie to anybody that feels, well, I want to do something creative, but maybe I'm not talented, and do it anyway.
Crumb.
That's the message of American Splendor.
Wow.
Harry Crumb, is that who he played?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Was it Harry Crumb? Was that the character he played in American Splendor?
Oh, Harvey Picar.
Okay.
Harry Crumb is a John Candy character. And so the other answer would be anybody from SCTV, Eugene
Right.
Levy, John Candy, rest in peace,
Right.
Catherine O'Hara. I grew up, worshiping SNL, but especially SCTV.
Right.
Right.
Catherine O'Hara is just,
Oh, yeah.
Zira Mostel is another
Right.
hero to me. He didn't do very much film work other than, of course, the producers, and The Front is a great drama that he was in. There's a one-man show that someone wrote called 0 Hour, and I don't think I have the body type to play Zira Mostel, but I want someone to do that show because he was a fascinating,
Right.
larger than life
Absolutely.
character.
Oh yeah.
Never saw him on stage. Would love to have seen his Tevye or his Leopold Bloom
Right.
in Ulysses that I believe he also did. Rhinoceros. I think he also did the Eugene Ionesco's Rhinoceros. So he had quite a great stage career. Never got to see him. Oh, and funny thing.
Yeah.
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 I saw him in that.
Oh,
You did?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he, what I heard the story on him was that he never stuck to the script, that he would just do monologues and just go off on tangents, even with
Right.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh,
Or maybe you
I think he'd
didn't
be
know.
the hardest person to work with.
He was the what?
I would find him very hard to work with if he didn't ever stick to the script. Like I'd be like, what is happening?
Well,
On a
sure.
monologue.
Yeah.
I guess if you're brilliant, you can get away with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do you have a worst audition story?
I auditioned for, I think it was the Full Monty at RLT, and I think it was my first real musical audition. I've done a couple musicals, and they're always a struggle. And I always say, well, I'm going to get better. And I had worked on a song for that show, and just when the accompanist started playing, it was just like we were speaking a different language. I couldn't understand what the key was. I knew the words, but nothing matched up. I didn't know when to come in. And I remember just being red in the face, but I'm glad I did it. I've since taken some singing lessons. I had some in college, and it's something that still terrifies me. But if the right part in a musical came along, I'd love to do it again. So that was tough. When I lived in New York, I pursued a professional acting career in my early 20s in New York City, right after college. And there was some audition for some Disney production. And I don't think I really understood what the show was. It was probably for some park attraction. And I had been in college, I had a job as a, believe it or not, a singing gorilla who delivered balloons. And I had a pink gorilla suit, and I loved being in costume. So I said, oh, well, Disney, I can do that. Well, I came to the audition and they said, okay, the combination you're going to do is step, step, ball change, twirl, twirl, jeté, and leap. And I just like,
let me write
did the best I could, following everybody else. And I remember the director looked at me and goes, you are a very brave girl.
That's
and obviously I didn't get that show because it was they were looking for dancers, and I just I didn't get it. But hey, I'm glad I tried.
I know.
Definitely.
I do like auditioning. I'm don't like to pat myself on the back, but I'm an excellent cold reader. So if you can give me a cold reading and look at it for 2 or 3 minutes, I'm gold. Monologues, not so much.
Do you have a favorite show you could talk about?
Oh, wow.
Been
well, Larry, I loved working with you all the times we worked together, but especially loved doing Laughter on the 23rd Floor, which, if our audience doesn't know, is really the story of your show of shows. And Larry played a character based on Mel Brooks, and I played a character based on Sid Caesar. And it was how the writer's room worked and how they dealt with this very temperamental star. So that was a great show because, you know, we got to go back and look at old tapes of that show, which is a brilliant show. It was really the Saturday Night Live of its time, and probably even better. And so that was a great, it was a comedy, but we got to do some research. I also loved, oh boy, I don't know how, maybe 5 years ago, Brooke North came to me with a project he was doing, which is Huey.
Yeah.
Which is a short 1 hour play by Eugene O'Neill. I'd never done O'Neill before. And Brooke had the very generous offer to switch characters. Basically, it's an hour-long monologue where this drunk derelict is pouring out his heart and his life story to the night clerk at a Fleabag hotel, 3 o'clock in the morning in New York City. So it's really a one-man show with a bystander in a way. But Brooke had the wonderful idea that we could switch roles. So we both learned both roles, and we alternated in the roles of
That's great.
Lord, Erie, who's the gambler, derelict, bum, and the night clerk, who is nameless, who just kind of nods his head and watches this spectacle unfold. And it was a great acting exercise. I hope that audiences enjoyed it because it was great to understand both parts and be able to go back and forth.
You got a great review, and that's Kathleen's next children's show is
Huey Jr.
Yeah.
Junior.
I always wanted to do the Iceman Cometh Jr. But I'd love to do more O'Neill because I think he's a great playwright that's difficult to stage successfully and to act honestly. There's a lot of humor in O'Neill. Sometimes, like Chekhov, I think he's mistaken as just a very serious playwright, but he's got a wonderful sense of humor. And of course, Chekhov was really writing comedies that had a lot of tragedy in them. So I had a chance to do The Seagull a few years ago with a group called Bartlett Theater in Durham. And we performed that outdoors in a site-specific location. And that was a wonderful experience. And I would love to do more Chekhov. So those are the two on my list that I'd love to go back to, those playwrights.
Yeah,
Long
you
Day's
mentioned-
Journey to Night was the first play I fell in love with.
Oh yeah.
I kept wanting to play Edmund, then I got too old for that. Then I wanted to play Jamie, and I got too old for Jamie. And I might be getting too old for James Tyrone, but I'm not really ready for Tyrone.
You're never too old.
Is there a role, you mentioned some shows, is there a role you particularly want to play?
Not a role. Again, I want to be in those worlds, that O'Neill world, that Chekhov. I just love his sensibility. I've never really done a Shakespearean non-comedy. I've done As You Like It 3 times. It would be interesting and a good experience, but no, there's no bucket list roles. I mean, and probably the best role is one that hasn't been written yet.
Yeah.
Because my favorite thing is probably bringing a new script to life, or trying to.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, when you are on stage, what type of actor do you like to be on stage with? It's the best type.
You know, I try really hard to be in the moment, to really listen, because there's a certain slickness that we can, as actors, have the trap of falling into when we're big and we're on the stage and we're projecting, and that's great. There are characters that are larger than life, and I've certainly played some of those, but you know, there are quiet moments that you can have in comedies and dramas on stage, and to be a great listener, someone that I feel is really listening to me as I'm speaking, and not thinking of, oh, what do I say next? Or when he finishes, do I, you know, and that's the real hard part, to make it, to unlearn everything you've learned and to be there in the moment. And so I try my best to do that. And there, when I can share the stage with someone that's really listening, and I'll really try to listen to them. Of course, if you get really too deep into listening, I mean, you'll forget that you're an actor in a play, and you'll be like, oh, wow, man.
Oh, that guy's great.
Wow, he's so good.
Yeah. And you know, as actors, we have to remember our lines and not be totally in the moment. I also love actors that can invest silent moments with gravity and with meaning. Some of the most powerful in film as well, I think, when there's nonverbal moments, they can be so much stronger than dialogue. And I love dialogue, but you know, sometimes just silence can be really powerful on stage.
Oh, I agree. You know, we all have great moments on stage. Can you tell us a couple of your great moments?
Great. Well, I'm not sure how you define great. I did have a great time. There was a great moment in, for example, when we did the Seagull. And it was basically at a country house. It's set in a country house, and we did it in a country house. And we used fields, and we used porches. And I was the Shamrayev, who's the caretaker of the estate, who's a working class guy who wants to be part of the bourgeoisie, and is reminded at every turn that he's not, but he tries to hobnob with them. So I got to drive a car as part of the play. I was driving characters and talking to them and loading their luggage. I mean, we did a modern day adaptation.
Yeah.
So they were wonderful, but there was a moment, I think, in the first weekend when all of a sudden, and the audience followed us. The audience followed us around as the play progressed. There was a moment where there was just a downpour, and you know, well, what do we do? Well, whether it was planned or not, the audience and cast all went to this covered porch, and we continued the play, but it was as opposed to being in a very wide, expansive space, all of a sudden the audience was sitting right on stage with us. So there's really no, you know, proscenium. Certainly the audience was sitting here, and there was an actor and then more audience. So we were all just huddled together, and we kept the play. And just to see the look on the audience's face, it was a great moment.
Incredible.
And people still talk about what a great experience that was, almost if we had planned to make it rain. So, you know, sometimes accidents can be great theatrical moments. There was also a kind of hate to bring this up, but there was a performance of Huey, the Eugene O'Neill piece. They're around an hour long, mostly a monologue, where I was playing the talker, Huey, Erie, and I just went up and I started babbling to Brooke North, who played the night clerk, and he got me out of it. And I want to say that I returned a favor to him. He would probably say that I did in a different performance where he might have gotten on track and I steered him back. But that was a great feeling that, you know, we both knew the script inside and out and knew each other's lines, and we were able to help each other. I still say that he helped me 80% more than I helped him, but that was a great feeling that, you know, it's okay. I got you.
Right. I love that. what is the funniest thing that ever went wrong on the stage?
Okay, I don't think you were in this show, Larry. We did a production of John. I wonder if John McElwee's going to be watching this, because he remembers this very well. We did It's Only a Play, which is a farce by Terrence McNally. Another
you did
another
like
play that I'd love
2001.
to do more of, and
Right.
it's just a tragedy he's no longer with us. But anyway, I digress. I played a character in this farce who was a crazy person, theater director, but also a kleptomaniac. And he would steal things from houses and rooms and hide them in his coat. There's a pivotal moment in the play where he is kind of stewing, and he opens his trench coat and he says, "I have a confession. I've been stealing all of your, paperweights." Some line like that. Well, I'm on stage. I'm prepared to open the overcoat, and I realize that before I made my entrance, I hadn't set a single item. So, I mean, what do I do? It's like having a gun that, that you forgot the gun, and, you point your finger and say, bang, it's that bad. So what I did is I said, "Confession, I'll be right back." And I left John McElwee, I think Linda Clark, and somebody else just on stage saying, "Well, he's a crazy person. What is he up to?" And they just had to vamp for maybe 30 seconds while I frantically ran backstage, loaded up the things, came back out and said, "Here." I mean, I'm still red thinking about it. But
Amy Bossy was in that.
what? Amy Bossy was in there.
I saw the show. It was great.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. So always check your props, folks.
Always check your props.
Double check.
We know you do voiceover work now, and you've always been an actor. If you couldn't do anything like that, what's another profession in the theater you would like to do?
Wait, I can't be a voiceover or an actor?
Right. What's something else you'd want to do?
Geez, Larry. I was gonna say I would be a cartoon voiceover guy, but that's too close, and maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I would be a pancake chef.
For the actors. There you go.
A prop master, right?
Oh yeah.
No. Don't ask me to organize anything.
If you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what advice would you tell yourself?
Get more training, young man. Yeah. I wish I had done vocal work specifically. I did a lot of scene work when I was a young actor, but in terms of working on my instrument, my body, my voice, getting vocal training, whether for singing or just being better at diction and enunciating, I would have liked to have more time with that. I mean, I would love to have been a dancer, but I'm just not. I'm just not coordinated. So I'll never be a triple threat, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
But what I would say is, good on you, David Klionsky, for leaving a corporate job right after college and basically ditching it and going to New York for, 6 years and pursuing the big time showbiz. It's kind of a foolish thing to do and a crazy thing to do, but and I was not entirely successful, but I had some wonderful experiences. I got to tour the country with a group that did adaptations of American short stories. Nathaniel Hawthorne, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe.
Nice.
And we toured the country for around 2 years doing those. And that was great because you're a working actor. You're also building sets. You're taking down the sets. You're doing some tech work. I was the house manager, and we would travel to a different city every day and do these shows for middle school audiences. Right. And that we also did Don Quixote in English and Spanish.
Very cool.
We would do a scene, and then the device was, and it got really old. We would do a scene in English from Don Quixote, not Manuel de Mancha, but the Cervantes,
Right.
book with no music. We'd do a scene, and then they'd turn on a strobe light, and we would go through all our blocking of the scene backwards to simulate a VCR rewind. Remember VCRs, kids? So we had the strobe light go through the blocking backwards and do the scene again in Espanol.
Yeah.
And I learned it all phonetically, which was
That's okay.
interesting.
I just did, when you were talking about roles earlier, I just did a reading in King Lear. And as you were talking about roles, I said, you would be a real interesting King Lear in about 10 or 15 years.
Well,
I mean, it's a different energy, but I think it'd be unique to see you play King Lear.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Get somebody to direct it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you'd be a great fool, Larry.
I know. I did Duke of Albany. I'm too old, but that was a good part. It'd been a good part from when I was younger.
I think the biggest fear I have about Shakespeare is, I think I talked about it earlier. It's so easy for me to play the actor and to really mean it, but there's some, like fakeness that I'm not blaming because I've seen it in other actors, but I'd be the first person to say, well, I'm going to assume the persona of a great Shakespearean, and not to lampoon it, not to send it up, but we think because we grow up seeing, overly florid actors maybe, and that used to be the style, 100 years ago, that was the style, to make it real. I would have to have a very strong director to rein me in.
I've only done maybe 3 Shakespeare plays, but Carmen Manley was probably the best Shakespearean director because she made everything so real. Like there was no over the top. You were so real, and I think the audience appreciated that because they also could understand a little better what you were talking about, because we had to learn every single word. What did it mean? And she really kept it very normal, if I could use that word.
Tell me the name of the director again.
Carmen Manley.
Oh, Carmen, yes.
Mhm.
I did a show with Carmen many years ago. I played Touchstone in As You Like It.
Oh.
Just that character, so many bad puns, but that was a great experience. But I have not done a drama with her or any other director really. So
Right.
So
Carmen
Dave,
is great.
What's the first thing you want to do when this pandemic, and I'm not talking about Trump, but when the COVID virus pandemic is over with?
I want to hug people. I'm a hugger. And maybe go to a movie theater. I know they're open now, but I'm like, I used to like live in the the Rialto is a great place, but my second home for one summer was the Alamo Drafthouse, because I'm just such a film geek.
Right. Me
and
too.
I love that place, and it is open, but I'm just like, I don't need to be there, so I'm not going to go.
Right.
But I'm glad they're still open.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes, I told Larry the story, but my husband is all like, oh, I think the handshake is going to be gone. And I'm like, that's okay. Theater people just hug.
Yeah.
I actually dreamt last night that I was hanging around a film set and Brian Cranston was brought in to do some publicity. And I said, hey, Brian. And I reached out and said, nope, do this. It was still the virus. And I said, and I wanted to ask him all these questions about his acting technique. I said, no, I just don't bother Brian Cranston.
Oh, he used the third person talking about himself?
Yeah, exactly. Well, David, thank you so much. This has been a great time learning about you and seeing you.
Oh my gosh, it went so fast. It was
did.
so painless.
Yeah.
My dad is 86. He lives in Sarasota, Florida, and he's being honored by his synagogue, and he's doing a speech to the congregation on Zoom, and he's been like up for like 3 weeks. He's been up till 1 a.m. Writing his Zoom speech, and I have a feeling he's going to be like, looking. So I'm going to call him later and maybe show him some of this, but remind him to look at the people, Dad. Don't look at the words that you wrote down.
Right.
But
Exactly.
He can position his camera so it's right there by the script. I have you right here, and I have my script right. The questions and stuff. And
yeah. Well, it's a skill that we're unfortunately learning how to be
Right.
better at Zooming. Who knew that would be a thing?
Yeah.
Right.
But
But thank you again.
Before we go, Larry put me in a horror movie, psychological horror, Night Interrupted. How long ago was that?
We started shooting 2010, and we finished
Wow.
in 2011.
So in 2 weeks, I'm doing a role in, I wanted to say my first vampire film, but that was in a way a vampire film. So I'm doing a small part in a low budget horror movie. I think we're shooting in either Wilmington or somewhere.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I was
yeah,
a big Halloween fan, and when I found out they're shooting the sequels to Halloween in Wilmington, I used to live in Wilmington. It's like, oh man, they don't kill too many old. Mike Myers doesn't kill old people too much,
Well, I get to die.
Oh, that's good. That's fun.
So I'm pretty excited.
You
That
just
is
gave it
so
away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you just gave it away. Well, listen, take care of yourself. I look forward to seeing you in real life someday. And
You too. Thank you for this opportunity to reach out and spend some quality time together.
Very fun. Very fun.
Let us know when your books are out and stuff.
I will.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you can find me, David Akiva Klionsky. I use the middle name on Audible,
Right.
and Amazon.
What's it like listening to yourself back? Are you okay with it?
I am.
Good.
When I'm doing character voices, especially, when I'm just me, it's a little squirmy. But no, I hate watching myself, but I can listen myself.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.